Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan, beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Another edition of Green and Growing. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. That man there, he is Nathan Marzion. You can follow him at Nathan Marzion on Twitter as well, or X, if that's what they're going to call it nowadays. Are we calling it X? We should come up with what we're going to call it on this podcast.
No, it's Twitter.
Twitter. Okay, you and I are going to rebel and say Twitter from now on. That is fine with me, just like it's the Golden State Warriors or the Marquette Warriors. Sorry. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Bucks. I had the chance and opportunity to take the 7-year-old to the Bucks game on Saturday night against the Pistons. And going in, I was dreading they lose that game, and then all of a sudden, everybody's really freaking out over the Bucks because the Pistons losing streak was snapped. But I will say this. I realized during that game, and I tweeted it out, Marzion, I don't know if you saw it. The Pistons have a target on their back like you would if you were the defending NBA champions, or if you had Giannis, or if you had LeBron on your back, because this losing streak has gotten to the point now where nobody wants to be the team to lose to the Detroit Pistons for them to snap the streak. So now, literally, like when the Bucks came out, they came out with energy. They were ready to go. Like you could just feel it, like, you are not beating us. We're going to put this bad boy away early and demoralize you quickly. And that's essentially what happened. And they were kind of out in front and in control all night on Saturday. But do you agree with that? That in a weird way, the Pistons actually have a target on their back, even though they're horrible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it definitely juices you up a little bit. Like, okay, let's just make sure we take care of business in this one. Let's be extra focused. It's like there's bad teams that kind of sneak up on you that I feel like the Wizards were kind of like that with the Bucks, where it was kind of like, okay, they got a little bit lazy in those games. They were kind of like, yeah, we can beat this team. And they did, even without playing their best basketball. But when a team is this bad and this much of a losing streak, it's like they're so bad that you have to kind of like lock yourself back in to say, okay, don't take them lightly, because they're so bad that like we got to just make sure we win this game. So they're kind of bad enough that it makes teams just, go a little bit harder against them. At least in the first half of games, just to kind of, all right, let's get them out of the way. Let's get up by 20, and then maybe we can coast a little bit the rest of the way. But yeah, I mean, they looked very good in that game. Some of it, of course, just has to do with the Pistons being bad and the Pistons missing shots and all that. But they looked really good start to finish. It was the first game all year that they really dominated a game throughout. They've had several wins by 30, 20 plus points, but neither one of them were they as dominant throughout as they were in this one. They were more like, okay, maybe they had a close first quarter, close first half, and then ended up pulling away at the end or pulling away in the second half. But in this game, it was like, no, from the get-go, they were up big after one. They were, just kind of dominant the entire game, never let it get closer than, 17, 18 points, whatever it was. So yeah, they really controlled that one. And then also Sunday, they were pretty good throughout. They had the lead pretty much that whole way. And, again, you got close at times, but it really felt like they were in control for most of the game. So two very, very nice wins to get over the weekend, and, just get people feeling a little bit better about this team now that they've kind of gotten two somewhat comfortable wins rather than the nail biting coming from behind type of wins they've had against bad teams previously.
I will tell you, I was concerned going into that game Saturday that I was going to see Giannis resting on a back-to-back. I was concerned. I was like, oh man, 7-year-old's going to be crushed if this dude ain't playing. But that's part of what it happens when you get tickets to a team against the Pistons. You're not really sure who's going to play. Middleton doesn't play. 7-year-old could care less that Middleton wasn't playing. As long as Giannis and Lillard was playing, he was happy. Can I just make a suggestion? And again, Marzion, you're not going to probably really understand this because I'm coming at this from a father perspective more than I am from a true Bucks fan perspective. When I was your age, I never would have thought of such a thing as I am now. So you know how they fire out the Gruber Law Office T-shirts or whatever the case? Okay. So they were firing them off, and one flew like a roll right behind us. And this dude picked it up and handed it to the 7-year-old. Like, here you go, man. And my 7-year-old was just all excited. Oh man, he got a T-shirt, all excited. I was like, hey, that was cool, right? That, somebody would do that. And so he was all pumped up. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to try and get one for my little sister and whatever. So he kept trying. He didn't get another one, obviously. But my point is, it was an extra large for an adult is how big that thing is. Okay. I think, and my suggestion is, if anybody at the Bucks listens to this podcast, I'm looking at you, Peter Fagan. If you're listening, you should have, I don't know, 1 or 2 times a game where you say it's a kid's T-shirt toss. and just say it's a youth large. Like, here we go. I mean, still don't make it like a youth small or youth medium, but every kid will get to be a youth large at some point. I'm an adult. I'm never going to get to XL unless I add on 100 pounds. Like, there's no chance I'm ever going to fit into that shirt. So even from an adult standpoint, there are adults that will never wear an extra large, right? But from a kid standpoint, if you said, okay, in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, we're doing the kids T-shirt toss. So now the kids know, okay, these are youth shirts. Here we go. And then the other ones, there are the adults. That's my thought. Marzion, what do you think? Not being a parent.
I mean, that it makes sense. I think that they obviously just do like, I don't know why they're thinking it should be large if they're going to do anything, like just make it a large. And that way most people, or even a medium, that way, like, either you or someone next to you probably can wear it. So I don't know why they default to the XL a lot. Like, I just don't know how that becomes the shirt that they throw out. But maybe they just assume that, like, well, people would rather have it too big than too small. So, like, we'll just throw out the biggest.
Or they're just assuming that people in Wisconsin are fat and everybody wears an XL. I don't know.
I don't know. But I since I was young, I didn't understand that, because there were times I got the T-shirt when I was younger, and it was way too big for me. So I was just like, well, I can't wear this. Like, why don't they throw out a smaller size? But
yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense what you're saying. Like, do a like kind of basically tell people which
it's a kids toss, kids T-shirt toss, right? Yeah, do it like twice a game. Just do it the first quarter, fourth quarter. You do it in the first quarter. That way you get butts in seats early, and you do it in the fourth quarter to make sure they stay in their seats until you do the last T-shirt toss for the kids, and that way the kids know. And that way, the other T-shirt tosses that you do, maybe you do one at halftime, I guess, but the other ones are the adults, and the kids don't have to get up and freak out. All the adults can get up with their beer in their hand and try and catch the extra large where they got the beer and the brat.
I want to say too, I've never understood the, like, fascination with the T-shirt toss for people. Like, everyone just stands up and goes crazy, and I'm like, it's a Gruber Law Office's white T-shirt with, like, a Bucks logo on it. Like,
this was a blue one. This one wasn't horrible. This was actually a blue one. It was actually pretty cool.
I never have understood why it gets people out of their seats as much as it does. I understand it for the kids, like, because the kids are just kind of like, oh, whatever. Like, they're just interested in whatever. If you have a free thing and you can throw it at them, they want it. But it's like, just everyone just gets up and is yelling, and half the time it's like they're doing it in the middle of the game. Like, they have like the game going on, and then like, oh, the Bucks made a 3. Here's a T-shirt toss, and people are yelling for I'm like, I'm trying to watch the game. Like, and then I'm like, you people are like the game's going on. It's like fourth quarter, kind of tight game, and these people are like standing up and like focusing on the T-shirt toss. And I'm like, are you really like caring more about the T-shirt toss in this game? That's like, I just have never understood it. And obviously I'm someone that gets way more into the game than I'd say a lot of people do. But I'm always like, it's a T-shirt. Like, I even if you get it, I feel like you're probably gonna wear that thing once and like forget about it. I don't know.
I think there's a couple of things to it. I think you have the people that have never won a thing in their life, right? They've never won a contest in grade school. They never won a contest in middle school, high school. They've never won money on a scratch-off ticket, those pull tabs. They never won a pull tab before, never had 3 cherries or whatever it is on a pull tab. They've never won anything in their life. So now they're just standing up hoping to say they won something and catching a T-shirt, right? I think that's one group. I think the other group is they just want something for free. They don't give a damn what it is. It could be, I don't know, Bucks eraser for free. And they would stand up and they would want that Bucks eraser for free because it's free, damn it. And it's got a Bucks logo on it and I want it. And it's for any sport, Nathan, right? I mean, if you go to a Milkman game, a T-shirt toss, or a Timber Rattlers baseball game, or an Admirals hockey game, any sporting event or monster trucks, maybe anything that there is a free T-shirt toss, people stand up. And it's not a Wisconsin thing. It is a across the country thing. This is, you go to Boston, you go to San Francisco, LA, Atlanta, Miami, people get into this thing no matter where you go. So it's not just an us thing here in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, I know it's all over, and someone's got to study like the psychology behind it or something. Like you said, it's just because it's a free thing that like they can catch, and they're like, oh, I can basically be selected to win this thing, or to not to win, but like I can be the one that they throw this to, and like it feels like you're battling the odds of like, if I catch this, it'll feel so cool, and it's like, it's a freaking T-shirt. Like, I have never gotten. I mean, when I was younger, I did like when I was younger, I did, but I feel like, and I'm not trying to. I mean, I don't even really care that much. I'm like, go have your fun. If you want to try to get the T-shirt, go ahead. But I just like, I have no problem with people doing it. I just have never understood how it works so well. Like, I'm like, how does this get that many people up out of their seats cheering, wanting this t-shirt? Like, I've just never understood it. That's all. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to try to get the t-shirt, go crazy. But it's like, I'm always just kind of confused by how it works so well.
Yeah, it's awesome. John McLaughlin was there. It was Mac Fun game as well Saturday night. So the big Mac Fun check presentation at halftime with Peter Fagan and everybody down at center court. So that was cool too. All right. Andre Jackson Jr. played in that game. 7-year-old was digging Andre Jackson Jr. high flying, throwing down a dunk and all of that fun stuff. Bucks fans have been all over the Andre Jackson Jr. bandwagon. I feel like I need to make an apology possibly to Andre Jackson Jr. I feel like it's something I should do. We'll find out if I actually do it coming up next here on Green and Growing. Download it on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Steve, Sparky, Fifer, Nathan Marzion. Green and Growing here on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Steve, Sparky, Fifer, 1250amthefan.com. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Nathan Marzion, follow him at Nathan Marzion. As we talk about the Bucks and Andre Jackson Jr., Malik Beasley has been out. Andre Jackson Jr. has been getting the start and has played fairly well. He plays defense. He brings energy. And before the break, I said, maybe I owe him an apology. Will I apologize? No, not yet. It's December. I'm not apologizing yet. And what I'm supposed to be apologizing for, I think, is me, and really Nathan was a part of this too, pretty much saying he can't shoot at all and he's horrible. And he has hit more threes than I thought he'd hit at this point and has been far better hitting the three than I thought he would be coming into the season. Am I there to apologize yet? Not yet. If he's still shooting this way come February, then maybe I'll get on board. But again, I mean, we're not at Christmas yet. So from that perspective, impressed early though. Definitely impressed. He brings a lot to the table. But really at the end of the day, the question is going to be whether or not he should stay in that starting lineup instead of Malik Beasley when Malik Beasley is healthy and can play again. What say you, Nathan Marzion?
I definitely see the case for it. I see people, and I think some of the like Beasley needs to be in the second unit stuff is a little overblown because I'm like, they're really good with their starting five out there. Like that five together has played really well. They look good. They, and no, Beasley's not a great defender. And I know having him next to Dame, like that's a disadvantage defensively in the backcourt, but they've played them down the stretch and like their defense down the stretch has been good. So I feel like they lock in when they need to and all that. I do like their starting lineup, but I understand again, people saying, hey, Andre Jackson gives you a little bit of the energy, the defense. He's a winning type of player. Like he's going to make the right plays offensively. And I mean, he's been hitting his shots, which I still don't know because his misses are so ugly that it's like, yes. Okay, I can't tell if he's actually a good shooter or if he's just getting lucky on some of these because, and I mean, I'm really not trying to discredit him. Like we might be dead wrong. He might end up just being a decent shooter, but I'm like, the shot still looks ugly and it'll go in and you're like, okay, cool. It went in, but it did not look pretty. And then, he had one off the side of the backboard the other night. He's had several air balls where I'm like, okay, is he a good shooter or is he just going like, I don't know. It's just kind of all over the place. It's pretty erratic. Maybe I think he might be a better just in just straight up corner 3-point shooter than I gave him credit for. I don't know if going back to college, if that was something he was good at in college, I don't remember, but maybe that's something that he's worked on is just hitting shots kind of from that area. Cause that's where he's getting most of them and he's been decent on them. So yeah, but I see both sides to it. And I see people saying, I understand people want Beasley coming off the bench, being kind of that scoring, shooting, giving you that pop off the bench. But I mean, as of right now, I'm probably still starting Beasley. I think as long as Jackson gets some minutes off the bench, I don't want him to be playing 3 minutes and like not getting any run. I feel like he deserves some run. And then you can continue to really see what you have in this guy and see, is his shooting going to stay pretty good? Is his defense consistent? Is he, consistently making plays or does it come and go? Because again, I have a hard time starting a rookie second round pick on a championship team. Like I just have a hard time doing that. And it's like we've talked about this with AJ Green. We've talked about it with Andre Jackson, with Marjan Beauchamp. These are guys that, yes, they're playing well. Yes, they are productive players overall. But when you put a guy in your starting lineup or when you talk about playing a guy a ton in a playoff series, those have to be guys that you trust consistently, not guys that, okay, they can have a game or two, or, they have their moments, but it comes and goes. Like Marjan right now, kind of on both ends. It's like, yeah, he'll have a couple good games, but then there's moments he disappears. There's moments he doesn't look good defensively. That's someone that I don't have firm trust in playing big minutes in a playoff series until I see that. Because again, it's more about consistency. It's more about reliability come playoff time. So, with Jackson, again, it's hard to put a guy like that in the starting lineup until you see it a little bit more consistently. He's been good. He's been solid, but again, there have been moments where he comes out and he doesn't look that good. He gets a couple fouls, and all of a sudden it's like he's back on the bench. So I don't know, but and maybe I'm fine with it. Do it in the regular season here. You can keep him in the starting lineup for a little bit. Again, just experiment with it, see what you got, and you can always go back to Malik Beasley in a month or two or whenever, and then just go with that the rest of the way, or go with whoever the rest of the way. If they make a trade, I don't care. But I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and commit to Malik Beasley Andre Jackson has to be the starter, going forward. Malik Beasley needs to be on the bench going forward. Like that should be what they roll with. No, I think it can be something they experiment with. It can be something they try out. But as of right now, if I trust 5 players, if it's a game 7 of the finals right now, I am putting in Malik Beasley in my starting lineup and going with the 5.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this team goes through droughts when, say, Giannis is off the floor, to where they need that score that they don't have on the floor as part of that second unit? Because coming in, it was, well, Bobby Portis will provide scoring. You don't really have that guard. Connaughton is more missed than hit outside maybe the playoffs, as Marzion points out. But outside of that, Cameron Payne has shot the ball better probably than I thought coming into the season as well. But that would be the argument for me, is you need more instant offense off the bench with that second unit, and that's why you make that move. I don't think Beasley coming off of the first unit affects them offensively. It definitely doesn't hurt them defensively, because, he plays hard, he tries. He's just not that guy like Lillard. So for me, I see the reason why you do it. If you think that second unit needs offense because you're struggling, and when these benches come in, you're losing that game time and time again. What would you say to that? Do you think there's droughts consistently with this team once, a couple of these starters go off the floor?
To me, my bigger problem with the second unit is the defense. And that's, I think, an argument to keep Jackson on the second unit, because they have been really bad defensively when, Payne's on the court, Pat's on the court, Bobby's on the court, and they have that second unit come in, and like you take Giannis out, Giannis sits second half of the first quarter, and it's okay. Dame, Chris is usually sitting at that point. It's going to be Dame, possibly Cameron Payne, and a pretty, just a weak defensive second unit. I think that I like having Andre Jackson in that role, because their first unit has been good defensively overall. You look at the minutes with that starting 5 playing, they've been good on both ends. Like their defensive rating's good, their offensive rating's really good. I think that they can play good defense when that starting 5's out there, and then it's like, okay, the problems have come with that second unit. The problems have come with the guys off the bench struggling to play defense, just not having a lot of defenders off the bench, and that'll help. When you have, or get helped when you have Jay Crowder back, because he's a defensive minded player. But I don't really see the offense as much of an issue. I think you've got Bobby to get points off the bench. Campaign can get points off the bench when he's on. Obviously, Pat, when he's on, is a good shooter. So I think they've got a decent amount of offense off the bench, and usually those lineups are going to have one of Dame or Giannis with them. That, okay, those guys can carry the load offensively. You don't need a guy to really completely carry the load. It's more of a secondary complementary role off the bench. So to me, I'd rather have the defense off the bench. I'd rather have someone who can, when that starting 5, which is good defensively, breaks up, okay, but you've still got this defender you can put out there next to Dame, or even when Dame sits, having Andre Jackson out there for perimeter defense is, I think, beneficial, because again, we just haven't with Payne and Bobby, those have been the 2 biggest ones and they're the ones that play the most off the bench. They're the 2 biggest culprits of, like, kind of the defense has been really bad when they're on the court. So
let me ask you this. Where are you at with Marjon Beauchamp defensively when he's on the floor?
Again, it's inconsistent. I think he's
you
definitely
you trust Jackson more than Beauchamp defensively.
Yes, yes, and Marjan is better defensively than, the guys I just mentioned, Bobby or Campaign. Yes, like I'm not saying he sucks defensively, but I haven't seen it consistently. I don't think he's as of right now, I don't think he's like a game changer defensively. I don't think he's some answer of, again, someone you can consistently in a playoff series put on good players and he'll lock them down. I don't see that right now. So to me, like on both ends right now, he seems like he's a pretty good overall player, and he's just inconsistent, which is normal for a young player, but he's inconsistent. He's not super reliable. Kind of similar to what we saw from like Dante was always this way, and he had a little bit more reliable defense, but like offensively, there'd be games where he had 20 and you're like, okay, like he looked really good offensively, and his shot was on. He was, scoring around the rim, and then all of a sudden he'd go back to like, okay, now tonight it's like he can't do anything offensively, and there's nothing he can really hang his hat on like that. And that's kind of how I feel with Marjan, where it's just like, okay, offensively, what is the one thing that, and even defensively, what do you have that you can consistently bring? He'll bring you some shooting sometimes, he'll bring you some finishing sometimes, and the transition stuff has been pretty bad, but at times he'll make plays, and then defensively he'll have games where he's really good, but then he has games where he struggles getting around screens and stuff. It's just there's nothing that I'm like I trust him consistently to do that. And that's where I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't know I don't know how to feel about him. I don't know how much trust I have in him. Defensively, I definitely have more trust in Andre Jackson than pretty much any of their role players, on the perimeter for sure. Like he can get he can get too many fouls sometimes, but I just think he's better at staying in front of guys than anyone else on that team, on the perimeter. So yeah, that's the guy I'd rather have off the bench when you in the lineups that you really are struggling defensively. Putting Andre Jackson in there more would help. So my take would be not that Andre Jackson needs to be starting and all that. It would be he needs more minutes off the bench is my take. Like I think he should be playing more. I'm not saying he's not some answer defensively, but I think it'd be better off the bench than starting.
He is Nathan Marzion. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. You can follow me at Sparky Radio. Check out all the stuff I do over at 1250amthefan.com. And coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit about Damian Lillard and how we view Damian Lillard. Like, what were our expectations of Lillard when the Bucks acquired him this offseason? And then has he met the expectations of Bucks fans to this point? We'll discuss that next here on the Green and Growing Podcast. Download it on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well, where we do live streaming videos of these pretty much every time we do one. Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan, along with Nathan Marzion. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Follow Nathan at Nathan Marzion. Green and Growing Podcast. Download it on your Odyssey app, wherever you download your favorite podcasts at. And, of course, YouTube there, Odyssey Sports page. Follow, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff they tell you to do in other videos. I try to remember to say it in our video, too. Okay, Nathan Marzion, Damian Lillard, expectations, top 75 player. Bucks fans going crazy. Here we go. We got a chance to go win a championship, so forth. And I, for one, would say I'm disappointed, maybe would be the term to use as far as Lillard goes. And part of the problem with this is, well, I watch a lot of NBA. I can't say I've watched a lot of Trailblazers basketball in my life. I've seen a lot of Lillard and McCollum playing together and that type of stuff. But when you're watching, at least for me, when I'm watching another team, I'm not sitting here watching every little movement that the dude is doing and how he's playing constantly. I'm just watching a game. I'm not watching one guy. Now that he's here and I have a chance just to watch one guy, man, there are times he seems lazy to me. Like there's lack of focus, lack of want sometimes, just kind of like moseying on down the court on defense and it's not just him. I've talked about Giannis doing the same crap lately as well, and it drives me nuts. But from Lillard's standpoint, he said it the other night after when Giannis had his 64 whatever, as far as, you get to watch it and just want to stay out of the way. And that I agree with on a 64-point night. Okay, fine. I'm with you, right? The guy's having a night, just get the hell out of his way. I'm with you 100%. I feel like it happens more than just with a 64-point game with him. I feel like there's a lot of watching and a lot of just trying to get out of him and Middleton's way. And part of that is he's never played with two guys like this ever before in his life. Plus, Brooke, who could shoot the three and score around the basket. I mean, there is a lot of offense on this basketball team. And of the guys that you want to take a back seat, the guy you don't want to take a back seat necessarily is Lillard. Now, if you look at his numbers, you're going, well, crap. I mean, he just scored over 30 points. I mean, he's right between 25 and 30 pretty much every night, Sparky. What more do you want out of this dude? But I'm telling you, there are stretches where he literally either doesn't touch the ball or touches the ball once and then never sees it come back. And for me, it's, man, I want this dude to touch the ball every time down the floor, like every time. And we've got Middleton bringing the ball up. We've got Giannis bringing the ball up. Bobby Portis pushed him away and brought up the ball the other night. And Lil was like, okay, and just running over the other side of the floor, that type of stuff. Like, man, I don't get it. Obviously, it's working. They're winning. One of the better teams in the NBA, fine. But we're talking about what my expectations were coming in. Offensively, yeah, he's that guy. Like, there's no question. I'm a little bit concerned about just kind of how he plays. And obviously, he's probably played this way his whole career, and this is nothing new to anybody that's watched him in Portland with the Trailblazers. But for me, it kind of drives me a little nuts because I'm old, and that type of stuff drives me nuts. Nathan Marzion, you had expectations, I'm sure, for him as well coming in. Damian Lillard, how has he lived up to your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, he started to get going the last couple weeks, the last month-ish, where he's really started to look like the player that, we expected, where he's shooting 40% from three. He's having 30-something point nights and taking over some nights. Like, the three ball is really getting back. And so he's definitely started to meet my expectations and even exceed them a little bit. Like, his defense has actually been better than I expected it to be. There's going to be obviously games and moments where he's lazy, he's not locked in, he's bad. And it's just like, okay, you expected that coming in, but I expected him to be consistently like a liability on that end. And I haven't seen that consistently. I've seen it, like, I feel like for 75-80% of this season, he's been fine. Like, he's been holding his own. He's staying in front of guys, at least, like, giving some effort. And that's, like, I truthfully better than I expected. I just haven't watched games. And the thing I said going into the season was, like, I don't want to watch games as long as I'm not noticing that he is playing bad defense. Then he can't be playing that bad of defense. So that was kind of my barometer of, like, we know how good he is offensively. Just don't be a terrible, noticeably bad defender, and we're fine. And again, for most of this season, I have not noticed, his defense being bad. Like, I haven't been sitting there going, oh my God, Dame's getting torched again. Dame just allowed another guy to blow by him again. It's like, yeah, it happens sometimes. And that happens with every player. We saw that happen with Drew, where, there's moments where, okay, guys beat him, whatever. But I just have not thought it's been noticeably bad. And again, offensively, he's really started to get going. I know at the beginning, I kind of agreed with you where, okay, he should have touched the ball a little bit more, but I just feel like the last month or so, like, I've been much more happy with how much he's getting the ball, how much they're running through him. He's, taking 17 shots a game. He only took 20 to 21 usually in Portland. So it's like, obviously he's going to take fewer here when he has Giannis on his team, but to still be getting up over 17 a game.
Hey, hold on, I got a question for you. You've got the numbers up there. You're looking at, I'm assuming. What are Giannis's shot attempts this year compared to last year or the year before? His Giannis's shot attempts also kind of creep back a little bit with Damian Lillard in the fold, or has Giannis's shot attempts stayed the same or gotten even more than he's had in the past?
So if we look at, because Giannis is playing more minutes this year, but per 36, he was at 23 in 2019, 20 in 2020, 20 in 2021, and then last year 23 field goal attempts per 36 minutes. This year he's at 19.6, so a little bit less than usual. And some of it is he's just been so efficient with his shooting, like, and that's largely because of Dame. They get Dame, and all of a sudden Giannis has one-on-one post-ups more where guys can't help and can't double, and they've done that a ton where Dame is feeding him in the post on his side so that guys can't help off of him, and Giannis gets an easy bucket. So his impact is definitely seen more than just his scoring numbers or whatever. And Dame's averaging 26 and 7 assists, 43% from the field, 36% from three. And the free throw shooting is something too that, and I knew about this stuff from, looking at the numbers, watching him play, blah, blah, blah. Like, I kind of pointed this out before the season, but even that is like, once you actually see it played out, you notice so much is like, The dude is making 8 free throws a game. And Drew Holiday was averaging what, 2.5 with us per game. I don't know if there was a single time in Drew's Bucks career from what I remember. There was a stat. It was either 8 or 9 or 7, one of those 3 numbers where like Drew had never once made 8 free throws in a game with the Bucks. And Damian Lillard is averaging 8 free throws made with the Bucks. And that's the thing, that when Dame is off with his shooting, if he's having a night where he just can't hit anything, the dude's still going to put up 15 to 20 points usually by just getting to the line, getting his free throws, and his efficiency overall scoring, when you take into account free throws, that's basically what true shooting percentage does. His true shooting percentage is at 61 something percent, which is Giannis levels of like efficiency scoring the ball. And so it's like, even when he's even in those, he was still above 60, before, when he was super bad from the field. He was only shooting 37% and 26% from three, the first 8 games of the year, but he was still above 60% true shooting because of his ability to get to the line. So it's like, even if he's shooting like playoff Drew from the field, he still has the efficiency overall scoring the ball of Giannis. Like, basically, like that's what that's telling you, because of his ability to get to the line and just get points that way. And he's such a good free throw shooter. So I've been impressed with that. Like I've just noticed how high his floor is offensively with his ability to get to the line. And as I said, I think he's getting the ball more. He's been just overall handling the ball more as the season's gone on. And I think people just had it in their mind that, like, as you said, you're like, I want him to have the ball every possession. That's not really realistic. Like, it's just not. He's not going to have the ball all the time. And like, my dad was kind of the same way too, where the game started, regular season started, and it was just like, get the ball to Dame, get the ball to Dame, get the ball to Dame. And I'm like, Dad, like, we have Giannis too. We have Chris Middleton too. Like, we have other good players. Like, I know we want to get the ball to Dame a lot. We want Dame to be a huge part of this offense, but not every possession has to be about Dame. Not every single clutch possession has to be immediately get the ball to Dame. Where's Dame? It's just like, chill. Like, Dame's going to get his shots. Dame's going to have his moments. Dame's going to score a bunch of points. He's going to be really, really good. It doesn't have to be forcing him the ball all the time. And so I've been fine with, more fine than most with Giannis having some possessions, with Chris having some possessions, and even just Dame saving some energy that way, where he doesn't have to do everything. He doesn't have to bring the ball up all the time. Do I still want him to have the ball most possessions? Yes. But I never looked at it that way. Like, when he got here, it wasn't, for me, like, I wasn't expecting him to just every single possession, he needs to have the ball. He needs to be the one always bringing it up. It's like, yeah, that's going to happen most times naturally. Like, he's just going to have the ball the most, but I've been fine with it. I don't have too many complaints, other than, just took him some time to get his shot going. It took him some time to really get going offensively, but now he's cooking. Now he's looking good. He's getting a ton of assists as well. Like, he's just playing really well. And so I've been happy with him.
I don't have the stat, but do we think he brings up the ball more than he doesn't? Because, I mean, I to be honest with you, I feel like Middleton and Giannis bring it up just as much as he does at this point, as far as initiating the offense. I don't know if that stat even exists. It probably doesn't. But as far as bringing up the ball and initiating the offense, I feel like they do it just as much as he does. And the other night, Bobby Portis was doing it a ton as well, as bringing the ball past half court and then, passing out and letting the offense work. I don't know. It's just something that I noticed. The other thing I noticed on Sunday in that Rockets game, where Giannis decided to go 1-on-4 or 1-on-5, whatever the hell it was. And he went and scored and got the N1 or whatever else. And Middleton came running up to him, and you could read Middleton's lips of, dude, look around. You could have made a pass, because literally Brook was open. Lillard was open. Like, everybody was open. And he still went and did his thing up and got the foul and got the score and all of that thing. And I think that's healthy. And I think that's good to have a Middleton or a Lillard. Like, cool, like, glad you scored, but do realize you did have other guys that were wide open that could have knocked down a three, maybe around you at that point. I think it's good for Giannis to kind of still hear that in his ear about trust your teammates, trust your guys around you. There are still guys out here, that can put the ball in the hoop as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing too with both of these guys, with Giannis and Dame. It's getting used to having a guy like that on your team. Dame's not used to having someone like Giannis. Giannis isn't used to having someone like Dame. I expected there to be some growing pains. I expected it to take a little bit of time for them to really click and really just be in sync. And they're still not totally in sync, but it's gotten better as the season's gone on. And again, that's when we talk about, how would you how do you feel about Dame compared to expectations? Like that, I did expect that. I didn't expect this to be Dame comes in and is averaging 35 and shooting 40% from three immediately. Like, no. And we know he's a historically slow starter. Like, that stuff was all like, okay, I expected this. I don't think I expected the level of like his 3-point shooting took, it was really bad to start. And I was like, man, like he's not hitting anything. Like it was 26% for, the first 3 weeks. That was the only thing that to me that was like disappointing at first was like, man, his shot's just really off. Like I didn't expect it to be this bad to start, but I knew, in the back of my mind, okay, it's going to get better. He's Damian Lillard. He's going to heat up. And just like that, he's above 36% on the season now. He's had a long stretch of shooting over 40% now. So it's just like, he's Damian Lillard. He's what I expected. He's been really good. Again, probably better than I expected defensively. It's going to still take time for him to totally click with Giannis and get completely acclimated into this thing and really figure out, how much he wants to shoot the ball, when he wants to pass, when he wants to be unselfish, and when he wants to be selfish. It's going to take time for the whole team, and then, as like with Chris figuring out, okay, when do we want to get the ball to Dame in the clutch? When do we want to, when does Chris want to take it up himself? I think too, you mentioned, that it seems like Chris is taking it up just as much. It seems like Dame, there's times he doesn't want to take it up. I think they have something planned out that they want to get Dame a little bit more off the ball and have him start off the ball in possessions because and again, I'm not saying I totally love it. Like I want Dame to have the ball 80 to 85 to 90% of possessions bringing it up. Like I just trust him as the ball handler. But it looks to me like they talked about something and said and came to some agreement of like I think Dame wants to be a little bit off ball, and they said it's a little bit easier to, and it's the same with when Giannis brings it up. It's easy to generate a defense to stop you when you're bringing the ball up, because everyone knows what you're doing. You have the ball. So it's just like, okay, you can kind of swarm that guy, make him get rid of the ball. And all of a sudden, someone else has the ball and okay. When Dame starts without the ball, you don't know what he's doing. And all of a sudden it kind of, the defense can shift towards whoever has the ball. And now Dame has an opportunity to really thrive. Once the defense is shifted, once it's a little bit off balance, Dame kind of can get his shots that way. So I think they're trying some stuff out. They want to use Dame off the ball a little bit, use him on the ball. He's going to get used on the ball a lot, but in the clutch, Chris was taking most of those possessions, and it was like, it was by design. You could tell like Dame wasn't trying to get the ball and Chris was ignoring him. It was guys would get the rebound and it was, oh, we're getting it to Chris. Like Chris is bringing the ball up, and Dame was fine with it. Everyone seemed like they were on the same page with it. And again, not saying I love it. I want Dame to have the ball more, but you could tell it was like, okay, I think they want Dame to be off ball in some of these possessions. I think they say, hey, we have another guy that can bring it up in Chris. Let's use Giannis and Dame off ball so that it's harder for defenses to really key in on those guys, and you can kind of unlock them that way.
Here's Nathan Marzion. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. Follow me at Sparky Radio, 1250 AM, thefan.com as well. Back at it again coming up on Thursday night. Between now and then, Tuesday, they have Wembanyama and the Spurs. We're going to that game as well, taking the 16-year-old this time. So looking forward to seeing Wembanyama up close and personal on Tuesday night. Thursday, it's the Magic, one of the surprise teams of the NBA. We'll see how that one looks. Don't forget, tell your friends, tell your family members, Green and Growing, talking Bucks basketball with Nathan and myself. Download on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, check it out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Like, subscribe, hit that little bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day.